You're watching another great interview on Audio Inc. Radio. What's going on? It's Anne Erickson with Audio Inc. Radio. We have a legendary guitarist on the show, Rik Emmett from Triumph. If you're new here, welcome. It's great to have you. And please subscribe. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. We have a lot to talk about with Rik, so let's get inked.
Hi, I'm Rik Emmett of Triumph, and you're rocking with Anne Erickson on Audio Inc. Radio.
What's up? It's Anne Erickson with Audio Inc. Radio, and very happy to be here with Rik Emmett. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. A lot of interviews lately, so I'm not burned out yet. There's still novelty to it, but because I hadn't done them for such a long time. But yeah, I'm doing fine. It's great.
Great. Well, I promise this one will be the best of all of them. So.
Right on. Whereabouts are you located?
So I'm in Michigan.
My son went to Central Michigan University. He played baseball there for the Chippewas. Yeah. So, and we used to go to, it wasn't quite the Upper Peninsula, but it was definitely the heart of Michigan. I don't know, 3-4 times a year we'd go up there for weekends and watch baseball. Yeah. I do like Michigan a lot.
That's great. I definitely know about Central. I've been up there. So yeah, that's so neat. Small world. Well, you have a lot going on. It's very exciting that you have your 11 solo albums coming out digitally, or they're out now digitally.
Yeah.
So tell me about kind of the story behind that and why now is the right time to get those out there online.
The record company Round Hill Records had made a deal with the Triumph and had all the Triumph stuff and was putting it out. And then I think the guy that owns and runs the thing, Josh Gruce, sort of said, well, we shouldn't leave Rik out in the cold with all of his stuff that he did after he left the band. So they made a deal. They got 13 albums, and they said, hey, we want to put them out on your birthday in July. And I went, well, okay, except, one of those is a Christmas record. I'm not sure you should be putting out a Christmas record in July. And I said, there's another one that they only bought my rights to a record that I made with 2 other guys in a guitar trio thing. So I said, that may not be a good one for you to chase on such short notice, because they were trying to turn this around in a hurry. So, but it was very nice. I was very, I have a lot of gratitude for the fact that they would, show this kind of support and belief in what I've done. And so that's been kind of lovely. And as I've been doing the rounds of media, a sort of a nice offshoot of it is that people kind of go, we had no idea. We didn't even know some of this stuff existed. Oh, my God. So that's kind of been really nice that there's been a kind of a revelation to it all, that, we're uncovering all of this crazy art that I've done over the years.
Right. It's like the music has a second life. Now it's like a re-release. Is that Christmas record going to come out, you think, eventually?
I would think they'd probably put it out, but, I don't know. Another logical question that people have been asking is, so this is all just digital releases. Is there going to be vinyl? Is there going to be, gatefolds? Is there going to be a box set? All of this stuff. I go, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I do know that there's, one person in particular that I email almost every day with Round Hill. Her name's Lucy, and she's lovely. She's fantastic, and she's, and they seem very supportive, and she seems to be, right on top of things. And so, that's really all I know. I don't know too much else.
Well, then it'll be a surprise for everyone.
Yeah.
So looking back on your full solo catalog, is there one record that really stands out?
Well, it depends what you're looking for. For people that sort of know Rik Emmett from being, hard rock guy in Triumph, then they would gravitate towards this album called Liberty Manifesto, which I did with a guy named Mike Schotten, and we called it Airtime. And we thought if it takes off, we might, have a band and call it Airtime and take it out on the road. And it sold well in Japan and in Germany, but it didn't do hardly anything in North America. So that would be the hard rock one, and it's very hard rock. That was around 2007, I think, around there. And it was a lot of layering of guitars and voices, and it was kind of like Queen meets Rush meets Triumph meets, I don't know. It was in that ballpark. But I mean, there's classical guitar records. Like there's records that people use when they're, having a nice white wine dinner, or, or they're canoodling on the couch. That so there's the first record I made when I went independent was called Invitations, and that was mostly classical guitar pieces and instrumentals. But to answer your question personally, if I was going to pick one of my favorites, I might pick Swing Shift, which was I did sort of 3 records in a hurry: the classical one, and then a sort of jazz archtop kind of one, swing music and stuff, and then a blues one. And that one had the swing one had some stuff on it that was sort of moving towards smooth jazz. Was kind of my roots from when I played in college and stuff, and so personally, that one appealed to me a lot. Here's the catch, Anne, that when you play jazz, there's just not very many people that are into jazz. You're taking your rock audience and you're shrinking it down. I think the jazz audience is about 1% of the marketplace, if my research is correct. So it's pretty small. And of course, of the 1%, you've already got people that they only buy like an old Billie Holiday record or an old Miles Davis record just to show that they're hip, so they can have it on the shelf and go, oh, have you noticed my etchings? And here's my Miles Davis album, So, jazz kind of cuts you back audience-wise. But for me as an artist, it felt like it was the biggest challenge of all of them. And that's really why I was doing all of this, because I was really just being incredibly self-indulgent.
Jazz is such a difficult genre to master, so I can see why that would be your favorite. It's so hard to play jazz.
Yeah, master is I'm very careful with that word. Sometimes people throw that one at me, and I go, oh, geez, I am jack of all trades, master of none. Like master is what I always like to say is that music is an infinite pursuit. You're literally sort of staring into the face of God. And when I would teach at the college, at Humber College in Toronto, I would often say to students, how can you have such a big ego? You're staring into the face of God when you're making music. You should understand about humility. That's an extremely important part of doing all of this. So jazz keeps you humble.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Are you working on any new music or any other projects right now with the whole, quarantine thing happening?
It's been ridiculous. Like the January of 2019, I said, I don't want to go on the road anymore. I might drive to a gig or two, and I sort of told my Canadian agent, you can book a few little things here and there, but give me like at least 6 months, maybe a year. And so I had pulled off the road and sort of started to get used to retiring, but I didn't retire from being creative. So I would be in my basement studio, and I got this sort of, thing up my butt about wanting to do a record that was like a Bob Dylan album that I had in 1963 that was just called Bob Dylan, and it was just voice and guitar. And I went, I'm going to do a project like that. So I started out and got an engineer friend in and started doing that. And then I started feeling like, the writing of lyrics. And oh, by the way, when I was doing that, I was writing lyrics first, and it wasn't touching a guitar. It was just literally focusing on writing lyrics, which is a very Bob Dylan-y kind of approach. The music would form in my head. I would have an understanding of phrasing and certain things I was hearing in my head musically, but literally never picked up a guitar until I had the lyric finished. So that was new for me. So, but then of course, I can't stop there. I wrote 6 fingerstyle guitar jazz pieces, and I added those. So there's 24 tracks. I called that Folk Songs for the Farewell Bonfire. Because I was thinking that might be the last thing I record. This might be the last project I do. So I did that. But then I was getting tired of, like, when you write lyrics, it's a very there's a lot of discipline involved, because you have to match meter. You write a verse, now the next verse has to match it. Your rhyme scheme has to remain very straight and true to all of that. So I got to the point where I was going, I would like to be able to write some things. And I was just writing in my notebooks things that were more like poetry than lyrics. Before I knew it, I was amassing this stuff. And so I had a friend, and he knew a guy that was an editor publisher in Toronto. And so I sent him the stuff, and he said, this is great. We want to put this out. So not only do I have this new album out, I now have a book of poetry that's coming out. And then, of course, publishers being what publishers are, they go, geez, Rick, you've really got that Irish gift of the gab, Blarney. Would you like to do an autobiography? Because, we poetry is like jazz. We can't make a lot of money selling it, but an autobiography, we could maybe make some money. I go, yeah, all right. So it looks like there's a 2-book deal that's that's cooking. And, meanwhile, here's Round Hill and they're putting out this stuff. And now I'm doing all these interviews and things. And because of the COVID pandemic, you get a lot of requests for people. They want to do this. They want to do Zoom things. They want to do a masterclass, or they want to. So I did a couple of days of a songwriting workshop about a month ago. And I'm going to be doing this thing called 6-String Salute, which is to raise money for road crew guys and stuff. And that's in September. And so, it's like retirement actually ended up being an incredibly good career move.
That is amazing. Yeah, the 6-String Salute. That looks like a great event, and it's so cool that you're part of it. Why are you excited to be part of it?
Well, when they asked me, first of all, I was delighted because the rest of the roster that they had of people that they were asking, it's all these guitar players that are heavy duty, great names. And so, part of it, I guess, is vanity. I go, hey, I want to have my name, thrown in with all the rest of these terrific guitar players from, and some of them are from my era, but some of them are even, younger than me, which that's nice too, that you get lumped together with people that are, 15, 20 years younger than you are. So that was part of it. But I think the other thing was that, obviously, this thing has been tough on everybody. And for me, it's actually been relatively okay. All my problems are really just first world kinds of problems. There's some people that are, they're really suffering because they're not sure how to get from, like they don't have lots of savings and they were working from paycheck to paycheck. So guys that are on road crews and guys that do production and, it's tough on them. So, from that point of view, I went, yeah, you want me to sing a song? Sure. On the internet, I'll give it a shot.
That's great. So you mentioned an autobiography. Is that for sure a thing happening?
Well, it's certainly a for sure dream in a few people's heads. Do I have it written yet? No, but here's the thing. And Anne, you're in social media, so you'll appreciate this. I have a website where I have a members forum, and I've had a website pretty much since the internet began, because I had fans that had come to me and said, hey, this internet thing's happening. We'd love to do a website. And I went, well, okay, but you can't own it. Like it'll be mine. I'll have to have control. I'll have to sort of be, a benevolent dictator. But okay, so that's how I got started. So it's been around for a long, long time. So my website administrator, Adrienne Duncan, I sent her an email, I don't know, a few months back, and I said, hey, Adrienne, can you compile all the posts that I've done on the members forum since it began? And, put it into a Word document and send it to me, because if there's this thing about an autobiography, I might, So she sent me the thing, single-spaced. It was 5,500 pages of text.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So I'm starting to think now, not just one autobiography. I'm thinking of breaking it up into a series of 3 or 4 books, because I have thousands and thousands of pages of raw material that I can draw upon. So, I don't know. It's obviously it'll be a lot smaller than that, and there's probably a lot of stuff that, I get people that ask me things like, hey, Rick, what strings do you use? Like that's not exactly what you want to put in an autobiography. People want to hear about, how drunk David Lee Roth actually was at the US Festival.
So how drunk was he?
Yeah. Well, they were all pretty happy. See, part of it was, I love the story. The US Festival was this incredibly rare event where everybody was getting paid. Van Halen was getting $1 million to play this thing. So they had a compound built backstage, and it looked like sort of Lord of the Flies. It looked like a fort that had upright, wooden sticks palisade all around the outside with a moat, So it's like, you don't come here. This is the Van Halen camp, But of course, they had Hollywood actresses, and Eddie was with Valerie Bertinelli at the time, and so there were all of these Hollywood people, showbiz folks that were coming and going from this compound, and you could just imagine the bacchanal that was happening inside there, and they were on last. So this day was filled with Judas Priest and Ozzy and Quiet Riot, and we played in the middle of the afternoon, and Van Halen was just sitting around, and they were getting happy. They were getting pickled. So by the time it was, they had to go on, they could hardly walk. And I think, getting out under the lights and starting to play, it sort of sobers you up a little bit, that they didn't do too bad once they got out there. But I think they'd even admit, well, we were having a nice party that day. We were making a lot of money. Yeah. So
What year was that?
that was 1983.
Okay.
You
Wow.
probably weren't even born yet.
Well, something else that people are very looking forward to is this Triumph documentary. So, yeah, tell me about what I know. Maybe you've seen a little bit of it. Have you seen the whole thing yet?
No, I saw a rough cut. Well, I wouldn't say rough cut. I think I saw the final edit just a couple of days ago. There's still a few little things they've got to clean up. Some titling that goes at the bottom, and they have some animation sequences that sort of get you from one thing to another, and they're not quite finished up yet. But it's exceptional. It's really something, and it's very surreal. It's like, this is your life, Rick. But it's one person's, well, two people really. The editor, Mark Ricciardelli, and Sam Dunn, who's kind of the guy he's the Banger Films guy. That he's really smart, and he really knows his stuff. And he's told the stories of so many other bands that now he sort of realizes, okay, I got to focus this down and figure out what is the story I want to tell about this band. And it's only going to be the one story. It's not going to be my story, and it's not going to be, Mike Levine's story or Gil Moore's story. It's going to be what Sam has decided he's going to tell from, the research that he's done and the stuff that he's garnered and the footage that's available, and but it's a compelling story, and it's kind of weird to see it, sort of the rise, the fall, the rise again, and then the end. Oh, the Walk of Fame and all of the lovely things and now the making of this documentary, which really is kind of like, we did a fan fest, which was a thing where they could shoot fans seeing the band, and we rehearsed. And the band actually played 3 songs live for these fans that they'd flown in from all over the world. And that was unbelievable. That was just an insane kind of emotional thing for us to reunite and play that. And it was kind of like the capper of all this story, like it coming back around full circle, and finishing in a really good, positive, solid way. And of course, the documentary crew captured it all on, 24 cameras from every angle. So, it's something for sure.
Wow. Do you think that you guys would ever do that again, share the stage again after coronavirus as a big celebration for everything being back to normal?
I doubt it. And there's several reasons. I mean, I'm not getting any younger, and I can't. I'm not sure I could sustain singing a rock show for 75 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever it would have to be. But the bigger thing is the drummer Gil. I mean, he sang a lot of the material too. And drummers, once they get the other side of 65, they start having back problems and elbow problems, and it's really difficult for drummers to keep it going. So, I mean, it's not like it hasn't been done. It's not like you don't see Queen, and it's really only 2 of the original guys, and then there's this host of other guys. There's 4 or 5 other people that are helping, and of course they got Adam Lambert out there singing. And it's like, okay, it's amazing and it's great, but the roles that like Brian May plays a pretty heavy duty role in it, and he's amazing. But Roger Taylor, there's another drummer that's kind of helping him out back there. He is singing some of the harmonies, but I'm not sure he's singing the really, really, really high ones that he used to sing back in the day. I don't know. And the other thing is, I hate to age myself, but I like having the opportunity to sit around the pool with my grandkids and, just kind of, I think I've had a fairly eclectic, prolific kind of a life. And even though I'm still being creative, I think of the creativity now as a hobby. If I had to go back out on the road and go through the grind of, hotels, airplanes, Ubers, limos, all that stuff again, I think that would it would probably kill me. I don't want to die yet. So
What about like one song or something like that with the guys?
that's possible. Hey, I think I wrote a song once on an album, Never Say Never, and I still hold to that philosophy. You never know what's going to happen, and you never know what kind of opportunities will arise. So, I would never say never, but I would say it's unlikely. Maybe one song, maybe a TV thing, or if it was something for a movie or something, it's possible. But I don't know.
When you were first starting out with Triumph, did you have any idea that you guys would have the kind of success that you did?
Idea, yeah. I think hope springs eternal, right? And I think when you start off anything, I think everybody starts off and you have the best intentions. You dream big, and then the reality sets in and the hard work starts, but then little things will happen along the way. In the first few years of the band, there would be enough that it was like, no, let's keep this going. And then, around the 4 or 5 year mark, some really good things started to happen. And then you start to go, wow, this could really happen, So the dream that you had is now, it's altering, but it's getting fueled so that now you feel like, no, this is within reach. So, I think I always had a positive attitude. And I mean, the band was called Triumph. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and one of the things the documentary will make very clear to everybody is that Gilmour has this tremendous resource. He's extremely persistent. He's very, very focused and ambitious and driven, even more than I am. And I mean, I feel like I'm a fairly focused, ambitious kind of guy, but it's more about creativity for me. Like I would fight to the death about a song of mine, whereas Gil would fight to the death to, get put on a billing in a show in San Diego, on a Thursday night. Like he just was really, really strong-willed. And I think that's a part of it, that he never lost sight of, no, I'm going for this. We are going for it. And I think he was the guy that picked the name. So I think the band reflected a great deal of his, shall we call it steely resolve? Let's call it steely resolve.
Well, what are your thoughts on the state of rock music? Do you think that rock is in a good place today?
I do. I think that, I mean, we live, obviously, let's forget about the sort of, COVID-19 and the implications of that. And let's just talk about the fact that during the course of my lifetime, we made the transition from an analog world to a digital universe. And we all live in that world now. You and I are here talking, and it's bits and bytes flowing through fiber optic cable at the speed of light. We're bouncing stuff off satellites, you and I. So, it's a different world. And so the making of music, the whole idea of how you can reach an audience, that's drastically changed. And we used to have a system where, a lucky few would get anointed and you'd get a chance to make a record. Everybody can make a record now. You can make a record there in that room that you're in. So, but there's no guarantee that you'll be able to then find an audience. So now the game becomes this digital world of social media, and how do you grow an audience? I mean, that always existed. It was just, you had things like radio that did it for bands like Triumph. In our case nowadays, the internet is this, really wide open, wild, wild west kind of thing that's reinventing itself daily. So, having said all that, I think good music is still going to be able to find audiences, and people are still going to want to find their way to good music. The value of music never changes. It's always this incredibly important, incredibly spiritual, really deep, valuable thing. And everybody's going to find their way to some kind of music, and they're going to go, this is my music. This is what I love. This is my tribe. I have found my people. Or this is the wallpaper I want for, the disco life that I want. People find music and they use it for their own purposes. So I think the internet has made that possible. And finally, technology is so sophisticated now that, you can take a fart and you can turn it into really great sounding singing. Like there's programs that can fix things and adjust things so I think that's one of the things now is like, what's honest and true. When I did bonfire stuff in my studio, like I was intentionally saying, okay, like not too much auto tune. Let's not really fix this. Let's try and make this honest. And so I would do a take and I would go, yeah, that vocal is not good enough. I'm going to have to do another. And then I would listen to it and I go, well, second verse was pretty good, but the rest of it's crap. Let's do another. And so then I would do something called comping, which digitally is very easy to do. In the old days, you used to have to, bounce tracks. It was a little more complicated with tape. But now an engineer can do it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. He can bounce a comp from 3 or 4 vocals. So, I did do that. I didn't use auto-tune very much at all, but I could have, and then I would have sounded perfect. But maybe perfect is a little overrated.
It is. It is. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, this has been delightful. I've enjoyed myself. Thank you.